Never in the history of the world have the merchants of obscenity had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. The onslaught of the communist masters of deceit.
Bingo. Common. Slugs. Bingo. Common. Slugs. Bingo. Common. Slugs. Bingo. Common. Slugs.
Ooh, baby, I love that you're gay.
I might need a better SD card.
Better suck.
But it did record, even though I'm getting a rate error.
SD actually stands for super dense.
Super dense.
Yes, it was originally a format for a new CD-ROM. Essentially, CD works by pits and landings of little divots that you bounce a laser off of, and that difference between how the laser bounces is recorded as information. And SD was originally invented as a way of putting more of those little divots into a smaller place, thus super dense, to store more information. They gave up on that concept and instead made the micro SD card, but kept the name.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Suck dick.
Suck dick.
Card.
Super dense.
Super dense suck dick.
Welcome to Pinker Commie Sluts, guys. We're here.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, Shana Tova.
On 9/11 and
Inshallah.
some part of Rosh Hashanah. It's definitely on like the 10 holy days. I guess it's Shabbos, so there's that just after Rosh Hashanah. So, yeah, I'm sure this is holy to the Jews.
All right. A
And
holy
also it's
day.
9/11.
Happy 9/11, everyone.
Yeah, 20 years since that Nickelback album
20 years. Now it's long enough I got to change my 9/11 joke eventually.
What's your 9/11 joke?
So my 9/11 joke is that sometimes like really young guys will hit on me and a 21-year-old hit on me, and I was just like, but where were you on 9/11? Preschool? And like, how can you never forget? You barely remember. But now are going to soon be not born on 9/11.
Where were you 9/11 maintains itself as a way of checking someone's age?
Yes, that is it. I'm
In
just
the
saying.
uterus.
I'm just saying in a not too long, me saying that it was a 21-year-old. It will not make sense anymore.
There was this dude on Twitter who I followed before I got banned the last time, and he was talking about how he always hits on older guys, and he's afraid of them asking him where he was on 9/11 because he was not in fact born at the time.
Yes, so it's that,
The answer is wildly overcompensate and heavily imply you were in the towers.
Yeah, like Steve Renazizi.
I was running.
Yeah, I was like, I was at the 9/11.
Do you know that
was-
story? The guy from the league who,
Oh,
for a really long time, maintained it, and then eventually came clean. And it was like he went on Mark Maron and reiterated this made-up story. But then, at the same time, some part of me sympathized with. You tell a bullshit story once, and it goes great.
Yeah, no, it's
And you don't think it's got legs, but it does.
But
The
then it
person
does,
at the
yeah.
party remembered it. And that,
Then
it
you
kind of
become
seemed
the
like
guy.
that.
Then you become
Yeah.
the
I
guy.
mean, it is, and to reference another great work of 9/11, the Seinfeld spec script, it is a very George Costanza thing to do.
Yeah. You just take something, you double down on it when you're found out.
It makes people happy when you tell the story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, you're
Really,
doing them
and I mean,
a favor.
what's anything?
So-
What's anything but a series of stories, right?
So where
And,
were you on 9/11?
that's
Okay,
right.
the Habermas, I think. I don't know.
I was.
I was between 29 and 30, running down the towers. I had just gotten out of the plane. I was in the plane. I got out of the plane. Then I ran down.
I went through the front door, but then remembered there were other people inside, so I turned around. I went back in.
Oh, there's some joke in there. You were alerted beforehand.
Anyway, where was Mark Wahlberg not on 9/11?
He could have stopped it.
Look, things would have gone differently.
Yeah.
But then Wahlburgers wouldn't have
Happened.
existed. Yeah.
No, it would have existed.
And one
it
of
would
them
have
wouldn't
been-
have married Jenny McCarthy.
It would have been in
And-
the honor of dead Mark Wahlberg.
No, he would have been alive. That's the point.
What is the story?
Oh,
Does he
Mark
have to,
Wahlberg
beat-
thinks
does he have
that
to beat up a
Yeah,
Korean?
Mark Wahlberg. This is actually
he actually
this is a compound
is well
bit, but
documented. He really does think. He said on
in
more than one
multiple
occasion
multiple interviews.
that if he would have been on one of the planes, he would have been able to stop it. And then he even had like a close call or something.
His most conservative statement on the subject is things would have gone differently.
We would have also
100
not had to deal with Mark Wahlberg anymore.
No, we would. No, okay. If Mark Wahlberg single-handedly unhijacked one of those planes, we would only be dealing with Mark Wahlberg.
I
He
know.
would have only gotten one of them. There were 3.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least.
Okay. Well, getting aside.
Did I ever tell you about? Oh, this is a good time to talk about my 9/11 pilot.
Wait, literal pilot?
Like
or
show pilot.
Okay.
It's that there.
But calling the first episode
9/11 pilot.
would be a really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's great.
Precisely. So mine is a show about a guy who you meet this guy. He's just a guy, lives in Chicago, does improv, and then through a series of flashbacks throughout the pilot episode, you discover he was another 9/11 terrorist, but instead of going through with it, he just flew to Chicago.
Okay, I like that a lot. That's real. Yeah, I like.
And now his life is a series of, struggles to maintain this life that he's built for himself.
I love it. That's so good.
I have several scenarios that I wrote for the pilot of why he doesn't like what inspires him, whether it's that, he meets a lady, she's so charming. He tries alcohol for the first time and he just kind of
On the plane?
so just kind of passes out. And then he wakes up in Chicago and everyone's freaking out because 9/11 just happened. And he's got to go, oh my God, oh, crazy. Like,
Who would have seen that coming?
I can't believe it. So, I really do want to send it into a contest just because I think it would be fun to know someone had to read
I
it.
guess there should be an annual contest of 9/11 related comedic spec scripts.
So,
But because I do have my Forrest Gump 2 idea, and it's not related to the planned Forrest Gump 2 that I am perfectly well aware of. They planned to do it, didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. It's a 30 years soft reboot style sequel where it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to...
Like The Force Awakens?
Yeah, it's going to be The Force
Gump?
Awakens.
The
yeah,
Forest
or
Awakens.
The Forest Awakens, the
The Forest
the Apollo Rocky movie one, whatever, it doesn't matter. Despite being smart, Haley Joel Osment takes a fucking brick to the head at some point and gets all Forrest Gumpy.
So in this
It's about a
reboot
son,
in
Haley
this,
Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment is a grown man.
Right, so
now.
was Forrest Gump.
Is it a just retelling a Forrest
It's a
Gump.
reboot.
It's a soft reboot.
So, yeah,
it
he's-
takes place in universe. It is technically chronologically a sequel, but it is effectively all the beats of the original Forrest Gump with the references updated.
But this person knows of the original Forrest Gump.
I mean, yeah, okay, we could play around. I'm flexible.
I was thinking he didn't. I was thinking this was a full reboot.
Forrest
We're
Gump-
hitting the beats. We're just doing it in a new way where he's made dumb by a brick.
Well, no, I mean, I was saying, well, no, because the obvious would be to have Forrest Gump's son, but that would be Haley Joel Osment from the first one, who Jenny.
Was the son even played by Haley Joel Osment?
Yes.
Was he?
Yes. Look it up. I remember because my friend from high school went to NYU in 2006 and was roommates his freshman year with Haley Joel Osment. And me and my friend, also from high school, went to college together. And we were watching TV one night, and we turned on TBS, and they were playing Forrest Gump. So we called him to let him know that his roommate was on TV.
Oh, you're right. I didn't
Yes.
remember that.
I was saying Forrest Gump's son, Haley Joel Osment, who
So this is what I'm even more confused about then.
Pull one thread, the whole sweater just unravels.
life is like a box of chocolates, one could say. But anyway,
Why'd you destroy my sweater?
the point is, the obvious would be Forrest's son would be the new Forrest Gump. But canonically, according to Jenny, he is in fact smart. So we'd have to deal with that.
He's smart, Forrest.
But does he have to be dumb to be Forrest? Or does he just have to have dumb luck?
Actually, the real
You know,
way
in the
to do
book, he's
this-
real fat, right?
Yes, and he has a huge dick. That's true. But the real way to do this would be to make Forrest Gump 2, the new Forrest Gump would be like a Goodwill Hunting levels of genius, and that would be the twist.
The twist.
So,
So we're getting
like
M. Night
Flowers for
Shyamalan
Algernon?
involved.
Yeah,
like
well, no, more like
Forrest
Goodwill Hunting. But anyway, the point is how I'm going to tie all this back to our original thing is it would essentially be the same beats of Forrest Gump, but updated like plus 30 years. So it would take place in the late 90s, early 2000s. And in that case, I want my new Forrest Gump to go, "Hey, mister, you dropped your boarding pass." And the guy would go, "Oh, thank you." And you would show him handing a boarding pass with the name Muhammad Atta to a person who takes it and then like runs over to his plane. Is what I want my new, a scene from my new Forrest Gump.
The real question is, does Tom Hanks reprise his role? Wait, does he die in the first one?
No, he doesn't die. And yeah, he would be elderly.
The Greek retard queen known as Tom Hanks comes back for part 2.
You can just say Greek. But no,
He chose to be Greek.
He would be elderly, but we would do his makeup so he would look like 90s Tom Hanks in old man makeup. So we'd first de-age him and then give him old man makeup.
Okay, this might be
And
not
so-
resonate at all, but are either of you aware of the Broadway show Dear Evan Hansen? Speaking
heard
of
it.
post 9/11,
I have
Heard of
seen
it.
trailers
whatever,
for the
the
film.
movie's coming out already. It's
I
like,
didn't
how
know
are they
it was
going to
a
make
Broadway show,
So I'm so sorry to interject with this,
That's
but
fine.
it's semi-related to the themes we're talking about. So, Dear Evan Hansen is a first off-Broadway, then Broadway show that first goes up in 2006. So in a post 9/11 world. And depending on how you feel about the show itself, it's either a complicated look at a very flawed but sad, vulnerable main character, or it's a like crazy cynical thing where someone does a bad thing and there's no comeuppance. So essentially this plot of Dear Evan Hansen is a kid in high school he's really socially anxious. He doesn't have a lot of friends, blah, blah, blah. A classmate of his, Evan Hansen, commits suicide. And through a initial misunderstanding, Evan's family comes to believe that this character was secretly really good friends with their now dead son. And at first he sort of goes along, but then he like wholeheartedly pretends they had this very deep friendship, and he uses it to sort of become close to Evan's sister, who Evan was like very cruel to, and spins this whole story about how he actually wanted to be a really good brother to you, and blah, blah. So it's like, it's the kind of thing where you're like, actually, if we don't just listen to the songs here, this is not great what he does. It does eventually like come out, but it's like he's like forgiven in a way that a lot of critics of the show itself are like, whatever, it's bad. There was some hope that like doing it as a film would have some more intimacy or something that would sort of, correct for the like Broadway, like big gestures and whatever. The other funny part is that the only person from the original Broadway cast to reprise their role is this main character who, tells the sly, and he looks significantly older than the rest of the cast.
Right.
In a way that almost everybody at the Toronto Film Festival commented on.
Yeah.
Where it's like he kept the same mannerisms from the stage show. So it's not just he's older, it's that he's big.
Doing a stage play on a movie.
Which makes him, which one reviewer said makes it almost seem like he is a narc. like, oh my gosh. So there is a story out there, I don't know if it's true or not, where they're saying they're going to de-age him digitally and have a limited release of that version to see how it does. So
I have one more question for Marlowe's Forrest Gump 2 Resurrection. Does Haley Joel Osment also get raped?
Yeah,
we're working on the premise that it's got the similar beats, and early on a brick gets thrown at Haley Joel Osment's head, and then he falls in love with somebody.
Okay, so number one, I'm kind of now partial to what was not really Bunny's suggestion, because she wasn't actually following that when I said Haley Joel Osment, I meant Forrest Gump's kid. But I'm kind of sold on the good forest hunting idea, where in Forrest Gump 2, Forrest Gump's actually like super smart. But then I don't know how it like works out because what we need is a character with no agency being in the background of things we care about. That's what Forrest Gump is. Like it's archetypical, folkloric number 087. The Forrest Gump archetype is a bumbling guy with no agency being around important things we all can relate to.
Walks into the Watergate.
Yeah, he's
like, this is just that. What are you guys doing over here?
He's just like, excuse me, sir, which way to the book depository? Oh, it's that way. Thank you. By the way, my name is Lee Harvey Oswald. That kind of thing.
Who's a patsy?
Yeah, no, I mean, rest in peace, dude. He was
R.I.P.
But yeah, no, okay, so I don't know how we're going to deal with the sexual assault. Also, I don't know how we're going to deal with the, like, racist shit about the Black Panthers they had in the original. I don't know what the equivalent of that is going to be.
In the 90s?
Yeah,
Definitely some militias. Definitely some militias going on in the 90s.
Oh, so you're saying that the Michigan...
like there wasn't a race riot in the 90s.
Okay, so
Jesus
you're saying
Christ.
the Michigan militia is exactly the same as the Black Panthers, Stephen?
No,
That's very nice.
I'm saying that he's going to be at the bombing.
He's going to be at Rodney King.
He's going to be at the bombing.
Is this your Sister Soldier moment?
He's going to be at the bombing of the Oklahoma City bombing.
No, I'm talking about that scene.
He's gonna be the one who sells Timothy McVeigh that series, that racist series of books they all love.
The Turner Diaries.
The Turner Diaries.
It's
that's
actually
hard to
just one book. Well, There is a sequel to it, but the Turner Diaries is a single book.
Anyway, he'll be the guy who sells it. He'll just come across it and think it's somebody's diary.
No. I think he's going to be the guy that drives Timothy McVeigh to the bombing itself, and then wasn't there a guy
we don't
that
need
was
to
working?
Keep going on this because I originally just had him giving Muhammad Atta because he'd also do like other.
He's got to do all the terrorism.
Okay, no,
he's got to help it. All of them.
No,
okay, here's one
idea I had.
He's gonna be at the White House when Bill Clinton's getting a blowjob.
Yes, that is true.
He's going to give Linda Tripp the idea to start calling Monica Lewinsky about it.
He's going to shake Bill Clinton's hand and be like, "Nice to meet you, President." And Bill Clinton's going to be like, "Here, meet Monica, my secretary."
Yeah. Okay.
And
the
then
other thing,
walk in as he's like, "Oh, don't go away," and he's like, "Oh, shucks."
Yeah, that I could see. Okay, that would be the Watergate equivalent.
That would be Watergate.
But as Bunny said, it wouldn't be what Steve said. He would meet the president, but it would be implied to be just around the Lewinsky. There would be a scene of like, "Oh yeah, hi, I'm Miss Lewinsky. You're here to meet the president." Like that. That would be a scene. But it would be he'd be talking to Linda Tripp and say something that would put a thought in her head. Mm-hmm. That would be the
and then
Watergate.
She's like, "I gotta call Ken Starr."
My question is, what is the Elvis dance? And the only thing I could come up with is he teaches Meg White how to drum.
What? Oh, that's terrible. How did he get to Detroit is the question.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he was born in Detroit. I'm flexible.
He was born in the South.
Okay, yeah, but like maybe, I don't know, Meg White stays at his mom's boarding house and she's like, "Hey, show me that boring 4/4 thing you do." And he just goes, "Bum, bum, 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 bum." And she's like, "Yeah, that's the thing." And then later they're walking along the street and they come up to a TV store that's playing the Seven Nation Army video and they like both stare at it. Like that's the Elvis dance one.
You got anything?
Jack White's my cousin.
What?
No, what?
Like a third
shit.
or fourth cousin. It's like but yes, I have confirmed it on my Canadian side.
God damn, that's cool. That's so fucking cool. But
so cool.
Okay, anyway, what would be the Elvis dance?
He teaches Fred Durst how to rap.
Okay. I like it.
He's like, "Fred Durst, before this you were doing like some singing stuff, and I think you should cut it out. You should get a New York Yankee hat."
Steve, are you aware of the scene that I'm discussing? Because you're assigning way too much agency to this character. He's 7 years old and he somehow has crossed paths with this celebrity, and the celebrity's like, "Hey, show me that funny little thing."
Sorry, I'm mistaking it for Back to the Future. When he actually goes on stage
and like, does Johnny be good?
Yeah, Johnny be good.
And then he's like, "Your kids are gonna love
Back
it."
to the Future. We're doing.
And
it
then it's like,
what if he does meet? Well, going with the Detroit thing, what if he does meet Eminem? And is in the background.
It could. Okay,
he's in the background to like Eminem's first rap battle.
Like, did he teach Eminem how to like hate his mom? Like, what the fuck did he teach Eminem? No, okay, like that was the thing I was.
Because there was
nothing
that happened in the like 90s and early 2000s.
That's what I came up with. Is the most
nothing happened?
Yeah,
right?
Just
is
9/11
the most
nothing else.
noticeable thing that happened was Meg White drummed
This
simply.
is, I guess, if.
Are you gonna point out how we're overlooking an entire culture or something?
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, a few things at least, if we're staying in pop culture, at least around hip hop and such, did happen in those years specifically.
Okay, so
he was like,
oh wait, so maybe he
was like, "Hey,
could he have invented record scratching? Would that work with our timeline? I don't think so.
No, that's too early. He could have given people the idea about sampling, however, because perhaps
auto-tune. That's what it is.
No, he's like, Cisco, hey, here's a thong. Write a song about that.
Or I don't know,
Have you
the
ever
whole
seen a
Puff
woman
Daddy,
with a
the whole
thong?
Puff Daddy era, the shiny suits,
but
the
Puff Daddy
fisheye
was like-
lenses.
Okay,
Before
yeah, no,
that.
actually, no,
No,
that's
it
right. No,
isn't.
Bunny's correct. No, Bunny is correct. The shiny suit. That is an idea.
It
What
is
okay,
That 100%.
firmly in the late 90s.
what if
Yeah.
he like showed Puff Daddy like Led Zeppelin's Cashmere and was like, there's going to be a Godzilla film.
Which is post 9/11.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say,
Dun-dun-dun.
yeah, no, okay. Honestly, if we're assuming he's a young adult at 9/11, then we can work within, hey, Mr. Cobain, something about a shotgun. I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with this, but yeah, no, so no, like
That's the like. There's nothing that happened between like 95 and 2008.
Oh my God.
I know the guy that gave Kurt Cobain a
yes,
shotgun.
I know you know the guy who gave Kurt Cobain.
I
a
met him.
shotgun.
I met his wife. His wife sold me a T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "You're the wife of the guy that sold Kurt Cobain a shotgun."
Yeah, every shirt is made with never-ending guilt. That will
never
haunt
mind
me.
the guilt. More like
Hey, anyway, so speaking of baby dicks,
the baby.
I just think it's very funny because I am a bit older than you guys that you think nothing happened between.
Nothing happened. There was like 98 degrees. There was
Literally Britney Spears,
Britney
the
Spears,
entire pop
the entire
boy band
awful-
like fucking era happened in the midst of this.
Avril Lavigne, just all the worst things, but nothing of it happened. It was all just in an advent of simulation. There was just matrixes.
I lived it. It's very
So did
funny.
we.
You sound like you heard about it.
I know much more about Avril Lavigne.
I know specifically Avril Lavigne.
Yes.
You do, but I'm just saying like.
There was frosted tips. I had frosted tips, which means I lived it. I had the flips on the tips of the hair.
Yes, I'm well aware. Did you use a cap?
No, I used the gel.
Frosted tips mean they're highlighted.
No, I didn't highlight them.
Okay.
I just had
so you didn't have
So
frosted
I just had
tips.
tips. I didn't have them frosted.
Interesting. Yeah, that's just you had spiked hair. Anyone could have
And I
spiked
had
hair.
the blue gel. You know when you had the blue gel and you just put it in your hair? But my hair is so fucking thick that I had to put the entire bottle anytime, and it smelled like down the hallway from wherever I was. I also had conch shells that I wore around my neck. This was 2000 and
Nice. I was wearing a lot of silver.
Okay, so Bonnie, what is your Elvis dance then?
I feel like
I do like the shiny suit idea.
I do. I feel like a
that's
shiny
thing,
suit.
Like a kid could like have somehow made a suit shiny, and like Puff Daddy would be staying at his mom's boarding house.
actually, the interaction happens between Mace, and Mace brings the idea to Puff Daddy. Do you know Mace?
Bunny, I think you're being way more obscure than Elvis Presley.
All right. I don't have time to ground this for you in people who actually know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like.
No, she's also throwing down her like knowing black people. Oh.
All right, this could just be a pop culture thing as well. It doesn't have to be that. I don't assume that other people are ignorant of pop culture that involves black people. So but I grew up in a black city. So like that's not. I don't know what it's like.
I'm just saying
to not have that around.
The I'm asking for is to
but it's
Elvis
it was
Presley.
just like what was. Yeah, and I'm saying like.
I think the Cisco with a thong is.
I think if I said the equivalent to the famousness of the Big Bopper, you'd have more wiggle room.
Do you think Meg White's drumming is equivalent to Elvis?
Absolutely not.
Dun, dun, dun,
No,
Because that's what I'm just, you know.
Okay, so let me.
But I feel like if it's Puff Daddy, I feel like Puff Daddy is known for sampling, and it would be something in that area.
Okay, so this is my thing with the Meg White. I shared it initially as an example of this is absolutely not what I want to do because it's extremely niche and alienating to most people. So I'm saying there needs to be a better idea.
Well, then if
that.
if we're talking equivalent to Elvis Presley, then why wouldn't we talk about those pop stars? Why wouldn't we talk about Britney Spears or something like?
Referenced Elvis.
Who doesn't fucking reference Elvis?
Because he was a white guy doing a black.
Jay-Z referenced the Grateful Dead.
What was the line?
Yes, I am aware that Eminem specifically does reference
a lot. Because he was a white guy doing a black thing.
Right. No, I mean, no.
Except,
Britney Spears could work. Okay, so what's Britney Spears' talent that she's known for?
Well, it would have to be like something tied to an iconic moment more so.
So, like, he gives her a haircut? What are we saying?
Jesus Christ. He gives her the hook to one of the songs. He tells her to take the snake to the VMAs.
She's wearing the red leather in the music video. He's in the background of the music video.
He's like,
he definitely gets like. Yeah, CGI'd into a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the
slave. Probably Oops, I Did It Again.
Oops, I Did It Again, or what's the
other
one?
Oops, I Did It Again is really fun because they shoehorn in this thing where an astronaut
I love that.
For some reason brings a diamond to her,
teenager.
and it's the diamond from Titanic.
Yeah,
and I love Britney's line read of, but I thought the old lady threw it in the end.
Yeah, Bunny, we are like.
I was horny enough at like.
Yeah, but I don't think you appreciate like that the impact, what it was like generally pop culture wise.
Yeah, no, we do.
Saw Titanic, I was in, and this character is definitely going to be in the movie Titanic.
I was in 6th grade when Britney was like at the height of her popularity.
Yeah, which is a bad time to be horny and having people dancing.
You give me real weird timelines for yourself. You're always like, I was in 4th grade and I was like, something that is way too advanced for 4th graders. It's
okay,
like,
I'm also autistic, but
I am as well. So
I am not. I'm just bipolar.
Yeah, but
we keep bringing this up.
No, like I mean, yes, I was in 4th grade, and I probably had some insane thoughts for a 4th grader. But yes, I was in 6th grade when Britney Spears was, and I hated her because I like classic rock and the Grateful Dead.
Ditto.
But yes, at the height of Britney Spears' popularity, which I didn't personally participate in because I was one of those kids, I was in like 5th, 6th grade. 5th grade, all the girls were into Spice Girls. 6th grade, yeah, Britney Spears was starting to get off the ground.
And then 8th grade, 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Second week of school.
Bringing us back to the
Bringing
theme
us back
of
to
this
today,
episode.
20 years ago, 8th grade. 8th grade, don't remember anything about it. It's completely blurred out.
Everything about it. So detailed.
No, I remember nothing. It was the most uneventful year of school. Most eventful year of possibly any like historical.
I remember getting home and being like, "Oh, Dad, you're home?" And he's like, "Yeah, I work for the fucking federal government. Of course I'm home." Like, yeah, they thought that.
So it was Britney, and then it was POD.
What?
Yeah, that was
okay.
You know, POD was like the band that was #1 like the week before 9/11.
Oh, there was a fun tweet today that was like 20 years ago, Nickelback.
That was my reference at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Steve
but who
Harvey.
tweeted it? Was it the
Silver
AP? No, it was the AP Planner that tweeted it.
Yeah.
Which they're like, yeah,
Give
if you're
me
looking
that
for
photograph.
a good alternate story for today.
Yeah.
Give me that graph.
Around that time, I watched TRL exclusively every day.
I refuse to
After
watch
school.
any MTV.
I
watched,
didn't like any of it.
I watched TRL, but I watched a lot of 106 in Park as well. So I would switch back and forth.
I didn't like any of it. I just wanted to know what the kids were into those days because I was a kid and I was like, I don't get any of it. I just need to absorb it through this media landscape, which I'm not a part of. Our marching band was on TRL, fun fact, and 50 Cent was the guest. We learned Pink's I'm Coming Up.
I'm coming out.
I'm coming out, yeah.
And you better get this party started.
And I learned it on saxophone, and then we marched down Fifth Avenue or Broadway, and then a bunch of people were up there and were surrounding P. Diddy, but I wasn't. I was on the street when it happened. So we did live it. Is my point. This is
no,
I just mean the tone with like the things you're pulling from. I'm like, oh, okay.
The dismissive tone of the entire time period is to show how forgettable all of that was.
And I think I'm thinking about it generally and not about my like specific childish cool policing I was into.
We were both cool policers. Marlo and I.
But the problem is
I'm ACAB, especially cool police.
Right. The problem is there was no like division between our binary. Like I was absolutely not plugged into pop culture at the time.
I was in a very anthropological way.
I was in a like voyeuristic way.
Yeah,
100%. My fucking mom's friend gave me like these fucking Tom Petty bootlegs from the Fillmore. And that was like the album I listened to the most.
That's my parents' music, man. Like I've been
and I love that
My
shit.
parents didn't have music.
My parents were like Led Zeppelin, Tom Petty, fucking
So
like
I had to discover all those on my own.
So and then like
that was my parents' music and I fucking
You
loved
both
it.
are fucking losers because you follow you.
No, I am. No,
Yeah.
Bonnie rejected it. I didn't. And
I mean,
it
was just like, it wasn't like, oh, I hate this. I was just like, that's like my mom and dad's music. And then I liked the music people at school liked, which in Baltimore City in the 90s was hip hop. And I didn't get into pop music till I was like 14. Like I was into Baltimore club music, which was like very specific local songs, and I was super into TLC. That was the first concert I ever went to. I was really into TLC and Salt and Pepper and Toni Braxton.
That's why you named the dog.
No, Miss Tony's actually named after a DJ named Miss Tony, a Baltimore club DJ. But Toni Braxton, also from Maryland. But yeah, I was super into Mariah Carey, like whatever. And then I went to private school, and there were like 2 radio stations, right? And it was like I had grown up listening to 92Q. And then I went to the private school and they listened to HFS, which wasn't even in Baltimore. It was like sort of closer to DC, and they were more rock and alternative. I did like Nirvana, and I was the only person when I was still in public school. I was the only person with another girl named Zoe who headbanged to Nirvana at a school dance. Because I was also a fucking weirdo. I was I was just like, and then because there was like me not being a weirdo, I was just kind of like, whatever, guys, like this is how I am. So I just didn't, whatever. And then I had real disdain for the things the preppy girls liked in a way that wasn't, that was my own cool policing.
Wait, you gotta tell us more about this.
So
banging to Nirvana.
Point is, we're all cool policing, and my particular cool policing is, yes, I was not into fucking pop music at the age when it was being targeted to me. I specifically had a conscious decision where I was like, I like Tom Petty more than this, and I'm going to listen to Tom Petty.
I think I feel like that is the same as somebody who's like, I love everything that's super popular.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like to me, like
it isn't. I'm not saying otherwise. I'm just saying that was me.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Sure. Whatever. I mean, like some people like Tom Petty because he's awesome.
Tom Petty is awesome. I saw him at Bonner.
Rest in peace, buddy. and some people like shitty music, and it's different strokes.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no difference between
I
them.
I don't feel a need to be like, this is shitty and this is like whatever.
I don't care. No, I don't.
You
definitely do,
absolutely
man.
not. No, absolutely not. No. You're like judging. You're reading in a moral designator.
I'm not reading in a moral thing. I'm reading in a very explicit judgment thing that you're like, well, this is just based on the facts. That's the tone of it, and I'm just like, okay.
Absolutely. But, fine. Some people like that, and some people don't. Different strokes, different folks. Strokes and folks, baby.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a good time to talk about
Cinderella,
a great topic for 9/11 tributes.
So some would say that Cinderella is the Vouch of folklore. In that it would precede the statement, some might say,
I want you to expand on that.
Well, no, I mean, some might
Which
say.
is a coercive thing to say.
Because Cinderella is very concerned with white genocide.
Yeah, white
genocide.
genocide.
No, I was simply saying some might say it. I wasn't saying I would say it. I'm just saying some
Just putting out the possibility.
Yeah. I'm not saying
out of the infinite sea of possibilities.
I'm not saying some are saying it, let alone many are saying it. I'm just saying that some.
Are you saying that Vouch
may or may not
Vouch could have been the fairy godmother of this?
Vouch would think the fairy godmother
Vouch could have been one of them fat
nationalist.
mice.
Yeah, no, Vouch would have been James Corden, and he would have called the fairy godmother a black nationalist.
One of my I will say, starting out on a positive
so
note.
we are talking about the new on Amazon Prime, Cinderella,
entrepreneurial
non-Disney with Camila Cabello, the Spaniard girl who
is she from Spain?
She basically she gets some criticism because I believe she is ethnically Spanish, but she will allow people to see her as Latina. So it's like one of these things.
It was unclear.
Though I might be wrong, I find Camila Cabello incredibly
bad at lip syncing.
Just a goon. She looks like a total cartoon mouse who's confused.
No, yeah, Bunny was reading
she's
her.
very pretty and she's good at singing. I'm just there's something where I'm just
Bunny,
when they're like, that girl has it, I was like, she's a different it.
Bunny was acting like Lucille Bluth towards Maybe.
Her arms are a little too fatty.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, Bunny
She's
was
got too much in the cheeks.
She turned to the camera.
Looking.
She just looked like a little sleepy-eyed.
No, absolutely. No, Bunny was giving her different plastic surgery.
I have no ill feelings towards her. I just am like,
this is like Marlo saying he's not
her?
judgmental.
I'm like, her?
Her?
Yeah, well, because I'm not, and neither is Bunny.
I might be getting this wrong with these boring brunettes pop stars. I think did she date Sam Mendes?
I have no idea who any of these people are.
Well, Sam Mendes I became familiar with, who's also Spanish in name only, I guess. Sam Mendes I'm familiar with because when I worked at the special needs school, the student I worked with was really obsessed with Shawn Mendes' song Stitches. And that's how I became aware of him. Where it's something like that. It's whatever. It's one of these songs that I feel like I've heard in a commercial or in the background of whatever, but I'm never I've never tuned in. No, it's
I'm sucking dick.
It's I don't know. It's a song called Stitches. It's whatever, but I think they were dating for a while, but they had the it just looked like they were bearding each other. They might still be dating. I don't know. But it was sometimes I just come across it and it'd be like, oh, they put a cutesy thing together. And I was like, these people are not fucking. This is no, there's no way. But then I don't know if I just get a weird asexual vibe about her.
Have you gone on famous birthdays to figure out any of these?
You know what? I haven't, and I'm so sorry, Steve. I know you need them clicks.
You can get some clicks my way. I did 2 characters from
From the new Cinderella, the lesser known people, I'm sure.
Yeah. The first trans person in a Hollywood movie. Musical.
It's got to be, musical.
Yeah, we're already limiting this.
Which,
and she plays a cis guy, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a very effeminate cis guy.
Yes.
Let me pull it up. I forget what her name is.
It's Janet.
Janae.
God damn it.
Who are we talking about?
It was the prince's best friend. The kind of foppish guy.
Okay.
Yeah. The actress that plays him, I think I was the first trans woman cast in a major Hollywood musical.
That we know of.
I put that in there.
Yeah,
might as well. And then also one of the stepsisters you profiled, right?
The secondary, I think narcissists
are
the very subtly named.
The skinnier one.
Yeah, the skinnier one, not the
who I thought
fat
was.
one.
I told you.
She was called Narcissa to let us all know she was Greek and therefore untrustworthy.
I thought it was
and hiding something in those garments.
I thought it was to let us know that she loved herself.
No, it's a Greek name. It just means that
It's a Greek name for the literal guy, Narcissus, who died because he fell in love with his own reflection and was staring at it so long in the water.
They weren't referencing that. They were just referencing.
But then a god was like, he was so pretty, I'm going to make him a flower.
No, they were just referencing that he was Greek and therefore weird and untrustworthy.
And clever and cunning.
Scheming, some might say.
Janae Lalachu. Janae Lalachu.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know that person.
Yeah, and
Good
also
for
Billy
her.
Porter was the genderless fairy god
who
person.
I put in this person's profile as the associated act because of their LGBT connection.
Anyway, this movie was gay as fuck.
Yeah.
But also it was gay as fuck.
It was both gay and gay.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. It was, first, I didn't know that it wasn't original songs until I started watching it.
Well,
the only original music
okay,
is the horrible.
It was English hip hop.
Drum line where someone's
Hamilton.
rapping. Yeah, so it's
I'm from Brixton.
Yeah, it was like Hamilton rapping is the only original music.
Yeah, but
with
Hamilton
very
rapping
modern
with a British accent,
Yeah.
which is worse.
but with an American drum line accompanying him, full with gold nameplate earrings.
Well, that's just all British rap
And,
can only survive on references
Well,
to America.
it's also because this movie was made after Beyonce did the concert with all the you know what I mean? It was they just took things that just you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, well, this,
okay,
well,
so
that.
the one thing that both me and Bonnie said, and Steve, I think you can relate, is this really did remind you of your friend going, hey, so I wrote this play. Could you please come?
Yeah, we're doing it in the black box.
Steve is someone who I know has had this experience.
Yeah.
Where if it was that, you'd be like, okay,
it's fine.
No,
I can say this about this movie. I legitimately did not want to kill myself watching this movie.
There were parts that I did.
No, there were parts I didn't enjoy. But I legitimately did not want to physically end my life.
Not
watching
for me.
This movie. Well, Steve, you're all sad all the time. But anyway.
It was more like I just wanted to murder myself every time they tried to lip sync. That was what threw me the most.
Well, no, okay, because I'm relating to this literally. My friend tells me, I wrote a play. It's an adaptation of Cinderella. Please come. And I come.
In your face.
Yeah, no, sure. And it is bad lip syncing of pop songs that have already been done that I also hate.
Except for Seven Nation Army.
Yeah, that was cool. We can agree that the Seven Nation Army part actually ruled.
I mean, except that was one of the worst scenes for me. was the ball scene.
The ball scene where
all the women were
the dynamics of this world are very unclear. Just as the time period is very unclear. Going along with what Marlo said about it feeling like your friend's like, we're putting this up, will you come see it? And in that context, you're like, all right. The sort of like set dressing and costuming seemed to be in a similar vein where it was
felt
just
like prop room costumes.
Yes, it was like whatever we got back here, let's pull it out. It's informed by almost too much. Obviously, an aspect of it is like informed by Disney's Cinderella specifically, which is like a Victorian era costuming of those characters or whatever. There are definitely like silhouettes and tableaus in this movie that are meant to evoke the animated thing.
Yes. It felt like a cartoon.
So, but then it's like they just mix it in with these other weird, like some things are very 18th century, some things, obviously the drum line.
When we were watching it doesn't know whether it's in 1300 or 1800 a lot of the time, where it's like...
Or literally like 1895.
It's like...
Where I was expecting someone to have almost a Model T.
And everyone is talking like it's 2021.
Well, that, and I can accept that because that's a genre. Yeah. That's a thing. That's what we're doing. I understand it. But what I am arguing against is aesthetically, it's like, oh, yes, you need to marry her for all her lands, and also there's a sea monster. And meanwhile, you look like you could then get into a fucking Model T, as Bonnie said, and drive away. Like, you
like I was almost waiting for like a 1920s or a Great Gatsby sort of like pastiche to like show up as well, because they were just like,
it is absolutely
they were just like
pastiche.
It was just like old timiness. But then the dynamics of the world are very unclear because there's some bad traditions, there's some misogyny, but the first way I feel like we're introduced to it in the film is explicitly the idea that women can't have businesses.
Right. That's the biggest oppression.
Okay. And also, I just have to point out, if we are to assume this is an era in which a prince will marry a princess so his father can get the land next to the sea monster.
Well, you're mixing up. There's a scene in the beginning where the prince turns down a marriage to a local kingdom, which would have extended their kingdom to the sea monster's land, and and he doesn't want to do that.
And if we were into that era of transactional feudal marriages, women are actually mostly the ones who produce things that are sold on markets. If we want to look at the history of economics...
in this era, they wouldn't have been like, ladies can't have a business. They'd be like...
In the feudal era, what do you think a business is? A business is a woman is sewing shit at her house that then once every 2 weeks she takes a bunch of shit and buys it to buy some extra grain for her household. Like, that was what commerce was during the feudal era, was handicrafts made mostly by women.
And then if we're talking straight up peasants in a feudal era, it's not as if the women weren't doing labor.
Oh, they were absolutely also. That's the thing. Like, they were also doing field work. But as far as like market based, what you could call like the commodity trade thing. And you can look at Engels, you can look at Weber, you can look at people who wrote in the last 5 years. There's a general agreement that until capitalism really took off, in terms of producing commodities that get exchanged on a market, that was mostly women. That was mostly women for most of history and most of capitalist history. Like, initially in capitalism, it was the women at the fucking textile mills. But like the whole
men own the textile mills.
Right, sure. But like the whole like cottage
The men
industry,
locked the textile mills to let the women die in fires.
right? Yeah, no, but like the like literally the thing
That's how
before
we do
factories was called cottage industry. The meaning of that is it was a thing you made in a cottage that was
Where
made by
bitches
women.
be.
Yeah, that's where it's
The domain of ladies.
That's where it stank of pussy juice.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, the whole idea though that
Cottage.
and also like the other thing is like our scope of what our commodities would be much more limited. Like the idea that you would ever buy a dress in any sense of the term buy a dress is very alien. Like to
Yeah, that's the other thing is that it was like
dress.
very much like modern capitalism, like projected into like an old timey
Right.
thing, because in the olden days, if you were a wealthy person who could buy dresses, you weren't buying them at
you had a dressmaker.
Yeah, you had a dressmaker you went to that you had a relationship with. You didn't go to the marketplace or the fucking agora and just like pick one up. Like that was the funny thing about the dress too. I was like, what size is it? I mean, Jesus Christ. Will you buy this dress, random person?
I want to point out that the sister of the
It's
prince,
gaunt.
the sister of the prince who ended up wearing that
Who
dress,
was firmly in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
She was they were definitely also doing like modern royal like winks.
well, she was the moral center of the movie.
Well, and Prince Charming's obviously Harry from the current royal family.
Right, and I mean, yeah, it was very predictable. It was like, okay, princess is gonna rule the kingdom. We got it.
She's the Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Did you check out her ideas she had for the kingdom?
Oh, they
and
sucked ass.
poverty.
It was like, but it was like,
I haven't
we're
thought about
spending all
ending-
the money on catapults, and it
Catapults,
just
yeah.
benefits the catapult makers.
Yeah,
And I
that's
was
the
like,
start
oh,
and
I
end
love
to
this lib dream that all we need is a clever girl. Just a clever girl to say, have you noticed that? And everybody goes, oh my God, I can't believe it. We can't stand this hypocrisy. We've changed it all. John Stewart fixed it.
Literally the only segment of the population that benefits from buying catapults is the people who make catapults. Never mind what we use catapults for and who might benefit from that use of catapults.
or be harmed by it.
Well, yes, but like they aren't the ones making us buy catapults.
That's
I'm
true.
saying like in terms of like it's such a fucking proto Joe Rogan where I forget the exact nature of the joke, but it's like, yeah, back in the early 2000s, you didn't need Joe Rogan. Your older brother just had a friend who would sell you weed and talk about how the government is putting like microchips in your dick or whatever the fuck. Like,
Ivermectin in your spinal cord.
Yeah, but like,
which Bunny is doing. Like
I'm just
Joe
putting on my
Rogan.
face.
but no. I mean, I just mean the like that
Do I have
concept
to sue CNN?
of it's like, oh yeah, the only reason the United States ever goes to war is because there's like 5 guys who literally make bombs and they're really loud and annoying. And never mind who we drop the bombs on and
there was
benefits.
the other one that she had though that was, what if I have like a five-step plan to ending poverty. Does anybody want to like debate it with me? And then Pierce Brosnan is like, shut the fuck up, wench. You're not in line.
Pierce Brosnan ruled through most of this movie, but
He really did. Oh
no,
my God.
she was Lisa Simpson.
It was Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is our Lisa Simpson, far more like than Hillary.
Yeah.
Because it's that like softer thing, but it's also very emblematic of like that belief that people, especially people who write in TV and in entertainment, believe where, oh my gosh, the problem is just
Very cut and
you
dry.
don't have one smart white woman to go, guys, have you noticed? Blah, blah, blah. And then everybody goes, like, and no one considers that it's that way on purpose. And yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's
if we only put her in
that
charge.
fantasy that a certain demographic can have about, oh my gosh, like everything could change if we just educated more. We just, whatever, which is often a tactic to disseminate prejudice shit. Like this couching things in education versus like an outright judgment is also like...
It's basically like if you go in and you see like bad racism in the workplace and they're like, we don't have a way to fix this, but what if we went into like 5 classes? If you took like a seminar on racism, that would change it. And that's how I felt like her problem solutions were following in the white fragility kind of vein of, well, we have this very simple solution that I've superficially constructed.
The solution is that she's allowed to have a business.
Well, no, not her, but the princess.
No,
we're
still talking about the sister.
But like the solution is that women should have a business.
Yes.
I mean, like that women need
agency.
It's that idea that if you just let us have a seat at the table.
And agency
everything
means being the personal dressmaker of
a wealthy,
usurping
black prince.
A black Catherine the Great, basically, is who we're led to believe this woman is.
Which, can we talk about like the multiculturalism of this?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. No, I mean, okay, this is the one thing about this that I noticed, and I was like, I don't care.
Okay, I mean, it seemed like, as you said, that the rules were very fluid, and that when there was a ball and there was very obviously an Indian woman next to a bald black woman next to a bunch of white women, it seemed like they were going for...
This doesn't take place in Europe. This doesn't take place in history. This takes place in an alternate universe where sometimes people just get born black, and that's how it is.
Which is how we imagine America, as being this enlightened multicultural society that we, in the people that went to college, this is how we imagine our academic sphere and the amount of discourse. And those are the people that were fighting for the hand of the very white prince.
I'm generally okay with colorblind casting. I understand whatever like Žižekian ideology like argument you want to make. I'm generally okay with the fact that, okay, you know what? We're making up a world that exists. We're casting people in it. Yeah, it's vaguely based on some era of Europe that extends between...
Specifically British Victorian era.
Whatever extends between 1100 and 1950 is this like super era that... It's very like Archer, where it's like they very like... you know, consciously like pull things from, cool spy shit is between 1950 and 1980, so let's just put all of it together. And it's doing that only over like 700 years.
I think it's doing something that arguably is even a little bit more interesting to be critical of, because, well, one, like colorblind casting, like in a theater sense is not that uncommon.
It's not a problem.
Especially if the story at hand is a fairy tale, is something that is in a fantasy
universe.
Yes. Or even, Shakespeare, things like that. Like it's very common to just do the play and not have a racial story that you're telling with the casting. But what was interesting about this Cinderella is that it was absent of seemingly racial prejudice, but there was still like
classism.
There was still anti-woman bias, but the way it was communicated was very white feminism, where it was fixated again on her not being allowed to have a business, but that is simultaneously the same thing is being used to be sympathetic somewhat to the stepmother character who feels she doesn't have other choice.
I put that in there, and they humanized the stepmother.
They humanized the stepmother and the stepsisters. You know,
they weren't as ugly.
They weren't as ugly. They are played as more misguided. The stepsisters.
They were Italian, and that's what we really need to get down to. Is they took the ugly part of ugly stepmother and ugly stepsister, and we were like, let's just make them from like New Jersey instead.
I think you mean Jersey from England. They were all British actors.
Yeah, the New Jersey of England, Jersey.
No, the mother is Idina Menzel, who is very much an American Broadway icon. So.
Also, I
original
will
Rent
out,
cast.
I only know from the stepsister, who was very British.
Yes.
I will further point out, third Minnie Driver movie I've seen.
Oh, yeah, I like Minnie Driver. I always enjoy, who was the queen. But Idina Menzel played the stepmother. Idina Menzel also was the voice of Elsa in Frozen. So she's the one who sang Let It Go. And she, original Broadway cast of Rent, she's the one lesbian in it.
I gotta say,
they were coded Italian.
I gotta say, the way they shifted from like spoken live in studio or live on set to like the studio was so awkward. That was the thing that kept throwing me, was the way in which they went from spoken word to singing was so jarring every time they did it, because you could tell both in their mannerisms but also in their like general production value of their voice that there was a distinct difference between when they were speaking on set and when they shifted into a studio atmosphere.
Yeah, that's common in a lot. But yeah, no, it definitely
Yeah, I
is a
feel
mark.
like at this point, you know, if you lived through Glee, you're sort of like...
Yeah, it's kind of just like...
What you're pointing out is that it's obvious that they weren't doing dialogue and then literally
Singing.
in that moment singing. They recorded their songs in a studio, in a closed atmosphere.
And I recognize the simulacrum that comes with being in this universe of, okay, most of this stuff is pre-recorded. We are just acting out these things until we get to the next song. I'm fine with that. It's just the amount of production costs that went into everything but that, and then the seemingly low production costs that went into whatever transition was necessary.
I mean, I would almost relate it to like Love and James Bond, and just one of my favorite things in an old James Bond movie is incredibly shitty rear screen projection. I like seeing the grains. I like seeing the bad special effects. And there's certain bad special effects that are associated with James Bond that are specific to that genre that makes it feel James Bond-y. And yeah, like you're watching a film version of a musical, you're going to get a hard cut from the on-set dialogue to the ADR or, you know, like whatever, like fucking pre-recorded studio stuff. And it's just sort of, it's like, it's almost like saying like, oh, did you know that like most music videos are lip synced? Like, I mean, like there's a part of it. It's like, yeah, of course, that's how they do it.
And I recognize that, but in this instance, it always took me out of it.
Okay, that's musicals in general.
I wouldn't say all. Buddy, back me up on this.
Well, I mean, it's hard because this in particular is a jukebox musical that is based around the story of Cinderella, and like half of it for me was like marveling at their song choices more than I was even paying attention to a cohesive performance. Because it's like,
yes.
one, I thought it was going to be original music, and I thought it was going to be funny because the director is Kay Cannon, who I know as a comedy person. So I assumed it was going to be like a little sillier or whatever.
I mean,
and
to be fair, they intended
they did mean it
to
be funnier than it is, but I thought it was going to be a little bit.
The best part of this was the three mice.
No, the best part of this was Pierce Brosnan trying to run his kingdom. I felt for Pierce Brosnan through all of this. God damn it, Steve. That was
a joke.
Yeah,
I didn't actually think.
Also,
that was the
I'm
best
like,
part.
How dare they? Like,
it was the most.
You were talking about
levity.
how they didn't really make people try on the show.
Okay, so this has been brewing with me this entire time.
Mm-hmm. We gotta talk about shoes.
Right.
Oh my God.
Let's get some shoes. Let's get some shoes. Let's get some shoes. Oh my God. Shoes?
Hey, remember the 2000s?
9/11 happened.
Yeah. Anyway, so slightly after 9/11, there was a video called New Shoes that dropped on what would soon become YouTube. There was also a video called My New Haircut. That was cool too. Matt, play the intro for My New Haircut. I'm going to pause now.
You know, I was at Barrage last night, 18 and older, and I got myself a prom date. Hey, broski, 2 Heinekens. They want a shot at the title, you know? You gotta make sure they're ready. You know what this is? This is my new fucking haircut. You know what that means? I'm getting some fucking pussy tonight. My boys, they're coming out. They all got the same haircut. They're getting some fucking pussy tonight.
Okay, I'm assuming Matt did that. So, okay, this has been my essential argument against this movie the whole time. And I've had detractors say that, oh, actually, it's not really about the shiz. It's about whether a commoner can become royalty.
Detractors being myself, just telling you that is when we talk about a sports team having a Cinderella story, it's not about them trying on shoes.
Right. But when scholars of great renown
I am talking
who do
about
not watch
scholars,
American football like a simpleton talk about a Cinderella story, what they're talking about...
I am also correct in that scenario.
Are you talking about foot fetish?
No, I'm talking about the fact that this isn't a Cinderella story, because in order to be a Cinderella story, you need one scene of someone to say, I don't know that you're the person you are, and then that person puts a shoe on and they say, that shoe fits you, I know you to be this person.
So, which, understand the argument. I do want to make clear that what Marlo is referring to is the coda with which they number different folklores and fables. The X Factor is considered the commoner plucked from obscurity who marries a noble, a royal, etc. The shoe thing, there are shoe things in other fables. The glass slipper specifically is Charles Perrault's Cinderella, the French version.
I'm talking shoe sizes. I'm talking there is a shoe size identification based story motif that Cinderella falls into that did not occur during this movie. There was never a point where the prince did not know who Cinderella was. There was never a point where anyone needed to do was
look through the people's fucking mail slots and be like, nope, she's too fucking ugly.
It is literally established in the magical mythos of this movie.
She's fucking ugly. She's got 2 horns on her head. I don't want to date her.
It is literally established by our fairy god Androgynous that
fairy goddess
the prince literally will recognize her on sight.
Who turns into a butterfly?
Yeah,
Holy
sure,
shit.
whatever. I don't give a shit. Okay, it's established the prince recognizes her on sight. The entire point of a Cinderella story, it has appeared in many cultures over many years since we invented writing, was that there was this fixation on this idea that someone would try a shoe on, get recognized because the shoe fit them, and therefore become royalty. That's what makes a Cinderella story. I don't give a shit if she then decides, oh, I would rather start a hedge fund than marry the prince. Fuck it, whatever. I don't care. Go liberal feminism. That fucking rules.
I'm gonna start a small business opportunity.
Yeah, fucking start like the free trade label and personally.
She's gonna start the first multi-level marketing.
Yeah, what I wanted to point out was that dress that she sells at the beginning to the prince for the princess to wear before we got sidetracked was ugly as shit on the princess. Like, just fucking...
It was not the princess's style at all.
No, it was like she was wearing
who was in like modern, who was in like 20th century Chanel the whole time.
But the point is, if you're going to call yourself Cinderella, because Snow White was also picked out and got chosen to become
cool. That is not the story of Snow White. Uh-oh. She was a princess who was banished to the I literally I almost stayed an extra semester to double major in this fucking shit.
Listen, there is a 9/11 plane being flown into the two of you right now.
No, because but I believe like there are other stories of several of like the Arabian Nights, including Aladdin, as a reverse, like gender reversal of that same idea. It's that is a motif that is like a fairy tale kind of trope, but but
there's a shoe specific.
But the Cinderella thing is the specific thing is her having been so lowly initially.
This gets into what I wanted to talk about.
There is
Marlo, shut up. I don't want to talk about the shoe anymore.
Yes, arguably you could say that Chinese story is a version of it, but that's a white person going, yeah, that's the same thing. It's...
Okay, what I want to talk about is magic with a fucking K, and the amount to which class mobility was brought about through magic has always struck me as a thing that Cinderella, because the fantasy element of Cinderella is that she is a peasant and that she becomes the simulation or like the spectacle of what an aristocrat becomes, right? Like she has a fairy godmother who's like, I got magic, and then like turns a peasant into an aristocrat. And that aristocrat can go to a ball and fucking fuck the prince. And she's like, I can only fuck the prince for a couple hours. Then I got to run away. And the thing that fucks with me is that the shoe doesn't turn off magic. Yeah. That always fucks with me. Like, why is the magic selective?
Because it's magic.
And the other thing is that the magic does a lot of heavy lifting, and
because it's magic,
but also like it changes the prince's perspective on what he thinks of the peasants. In this movie in particular, it changes the goals of the female protagonist who's a peasant. The goal is not to become an aristocrat who marries a royal or into royalty, but a peasant that becomes a small business, petite bourgeois, small business owner who then gives up her aristocracy that she's rightly deserved in favor of traveling the world with her prince in the hopes of becoming a queen's...
Basically a dressmaker for a queen. For a royal who spends all of her time at fancy events all around the world.
Yes.
Right.
And that to me seemed like the twist that they were going on. And I want to point out, we've talked about
just unquestioningly that's great, right?
That's great.
That's the fulfillment.
Right. No, it is presented as per se independence.
Yes.
There is a presentation that this is feminism, this is independence.
Petit bourgeois is
you're
the feminism.
Just bourgeois. And I mean, honestly, you just described bourgeois. Like, no, you literally bourgeois. Like, the upwardly mobile peasant who...
I thought small business was the petite bourgeois.
Right, but we're also in what is... I'm also trying to historically, materialistically place the era of this movie, where I would call this actually just straight up bourgeois, that you have a peasant who becomes upwardly mobile through her degree of skills, education, and essential liberation from the serfdom system is where I would call this bourgeois.
No, and it's true. I'm just hyper-focusing on the attention to which the petite bourgeois goal or fantasy...
Right.
More than the
liberation
bourgeois,
is tied.
Bourgeois already implies that she had land owning and had
no. This is French Revolution level. This is the bourgeois class in the French Revolution were peasants who got rich.
Well, and I'd argue the only way to look at this is from a modern lens, which is this is essentially arguing that her freedom and independence is guaranteed through this starting a small business. But the starting a small business is her at the behest of a specific benefactor who can only offer this because they live a life of leisure and like inconsequential.
If you think about it, all the Medici patrons were small business owners.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like... And they do sort of play up that it's her. She loves designing clothes. It's not just that she wants independence. She loves designing the clothes
as she's sewing.
She loves sewing, and the idea that you would be artistically fulfilled in this position
more than royalty.
It's so funny. The idea that she. Because they're like, oh, well, if you're a noble lady, you can't do any of these things. Which also, I think there was a lot of notes that were like, we have totally been watching The Crown and like Harry and Meghan. And like, it's very like, I just felt like whoever this writer's room was pulling in shit that they just saw.
To also like relate it to that, this is a very Victorian era idea of Savile Row style, the capitalist who has the royal patent in England. Like the idea of my skills are so great, I have a royal person who has declared they will personally shop with me, and therefore my business is sound, which is a very specifically late Victorian idea.
Which is why I think this is specific to Victorian era
I'm
class
going
division.
to again say that it's horribly confused, and it's not specific to anything. But the elements you're reading into it are valid because in its confusion, one of the schizophrenic multiple personalities it invented was the one that you're seeing.
Yeah, that's fair. And there was also like this weird sexuality thing where there was a transaction and no sexuality was actually evoked. It was only implied.
Also, during the Victorian era, women were also allowed to be dressmakers. I just want to point that out.
What's always funny about the Victorian era being emblematic in the modern era of like old, stuck up, weird, repressed, whatever.
Well, that's because sex didn't exist for 100 years.
Yeah.
65 years.
It was like a lot of the propriety stuff was like brief. There was a lot of like just the functionality of the life at the time of like most people were never fully nude when dressing and undressing. They took everything off in parts and washed parts of themselves, not with water, often just with muslin.
Well, okay, I have a thing about this, one that is Foucauldian, because he does a whole book about the Victorian era and the repression of sexuality, or the repression theory of sexuality. And his...
What do they call the Victorian era in France? I'm asking as Jules to you.
I think that they just called it the Victorian era.
Le Victorian.
Well, I think Foucault pointed out that it was the invention of the master bedroom, where prior to the...
That is such a Foucault thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Such a... Oh, yeah, no, it was like when they invented closets, really, that's when homophobia started.
No, but in realistic terms, pre-Victorian era, in like the 1700s...
People did not have separate bedrooms.
Children had access to sexuality.
They just had sex in front of everyone.
Right.
And not... You learn sexuality through your parents because you
Privacy is a modern
not only privacy
concept,
but private bedrooms. The access
the
to
modern
sexuality.
Yeah, the modern concept of privacy is like incredibly like just now we just made it up, and people act like
we need to defend
these
it
long-standing
with guns.
boundaries have always existed, and then half of the old people being like, "What about my privacy?" Or like, "I'm trying to do fucked up shit in secret still." So it's.
But his repression theory is saying that like Victorian era was the invention of that privacy, was the invention of sexuality as a scientific practice, but also as a thing that was segregated from knowledge.
Yeah, no, before then, like, people in the 1700s were just writing to the post office like, Dear Google, give me lit erotica, Allison's descent into sex slavery.
And
Sincerely, Lord Byron.
and the other aspect of this observation, which I think is very interesting in his trying to designate sexuality, is that there was an absence of sexuality from novels and literature, and that sex was always through a note that was passed or a glance that was made at a party.
Or a flower arrangement.
In any of these like Austen novels,
right.
It was a transaction, whereas previously sex was talked about pretty openly, and then it was repressed for like 100 years, and now we live in the shadow of that repression.
Well, I think some of that's fair. I think also a way to expand around it is like out of the clearly like out of that repression is also where a lot of our modern conceptions of like homophobia come from.
That is exactly where he's going.
Because like we don't have to go that far back in history to realize people's conceptions of like gay and straight were not so clear cut, and
it's literally before 1920.
Well, and that's his thesis for the history of sexuality, is that we invented these sexualities to make these divisions. Victorian era and the repression that came along with it came with scientifically designating people in these.
You don't need Foucault for that, but like he is very helpful because he talks specifically about it. But it's objectively true that the Victorian like scientific revolution of we can assign a category to this, we can assign a category to that, and literally did invent homosexuality.
Yeah, and we invented islands to put them on, too.
Right.
Well, what's interesting is that, like, because of that, it's hard for us as modern people to conceive of what exactly we're reading when we read a primary source from the past that touches on one of these areas, because it's so difficult not to project what you've been conditioned to think. And also we tend to assume that people in the past were all much more conservative, and we've only gotten like that things are very linear in this way.
One of the things that he's very good at weaving a narrative. I wouldn't say historifying, because historians hate him for cherry picking.
Historians hate him.
No, they do. Like
click here.
Well, I mean that's the same with Marx.
Yeah.
But what the fuck is a historian?
Nerd.
Do you know what I mean? Like a historian in the olden times was a guy who remembered the stories, and now it's somebody who is mad other people tell cooler ones.
The real thing that the postmodernists do that I appreciate as a Marxist No, the real thing that like I like about like Foucault and Lyotard and whatever is like Marx uses the word science and all, and they like point out what science is.
Yeah,
and
especially
that's,
Lyotard.
Well, no, but like Foucault
too.
Foucault too. I know it's like mostly Lyotard, but Foucault too, where it's just like, yeah, this was like.
It was a branding exercise.
Yeah, it was a series of categorizations we made. And, like, we literally, like, in the middle of it, we invented gay people. Like, it was just a thing we fucking did. We got, like, really drunk one night and we invented gay people. And then we invented, like, what the atom was.
Yeah.
And it was literally the same fucking process.
And
like,
and not only that, but like the universe. We
Well, it's also
invented
where-
the universe.
it's also
and Marx died before all this shit happened. And this is where I value Lyotard. This is where as a Marxist, I value Foucault.
No, Lyotard is fucking awesome. And Bunny's shaking her head like, what's going on here?
No, I don't want you to knock my TV out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting extremely Italian right now.
Yeah.
Lyotard!
Yeah, but anyway, no, this is where I value these people where they're like, yeah, basically, okay, and this is also where I'll say read that fucking dialectics book. Because,
Put your mouth closer to the fucking...
okay,
move,
this
or
is
you could
also
move the
where
mic
I will say,
with you.
Stephen... No, because if I touch it with my hands, then it gets a bunch of interference. So I've already, like, I've been trying to just, like, I've been leaning forward this whole time. My spine is, like, cracking under the weight of all the body fat on me. But anyway, no, this is...
You could make choices to make it easier on yourself.
Yes, I know, and that would involve cutting out carbs, and, like,
That's not what I
annoying
meant.
as fuck.
No,
Lord.
I think she was talking about getting a more stable chair.
Or we could have positioned, whatever.
You know what? Whatever. Bentley's saying,
Oh my gosh. Okay, we are...
we can make a premium episode about Bunny saying that Marlo's a fat piece of shit.
I would,
and
first of
Marlo
all...
saying
I
that
would never-
I like myself as I am. Thank
Look,
you very much.
I
Marlo
would
is
never
a
do
model
such
of
a
body
thing.
positivity.
Yes.
Which is why he should do naked calendar spreads.
Yeah, sure. I'll Stavros out this shit. I'll be more Greek than Bunny. All because she said I was too fat to be Greek.
Oh my God.
See,
I'll show you.
See, okay, I have a theory that Marlo is all of Cumtown in one person. He's both fat, autistic, and Jewish.
Oh my God.
Right. Anyway, point is, as a fat person, I can speak
I'm
about
trying
the
to see
Greek
it. I'm like,
experience.
what's your teeth situation look like?
Anyway, as a
He
fat
got it
person,
fixed.
I
He got it
can
fixed.
speak about the
Yeah,
Greek
he's missing a
experience
tooth in his
in
brain.
America.
He's got hair.
You certainly could be mistaken for a Greek,
I can be
especially at your
mistaken for
current
some-
hair length.
Oh, thank you, every Hasidic person ever who calls me Jewish. Because no, this hair length is just.
It's just something. They go, yeah, you're something.
I'm ethnic. I'm ethnic as fuck.
They're
Yeah.
like, it's too curly to be anything other
Now,
than
you know
something
what?
I
I
recognize.
would love it if Marlo like accidentally discovered a hair product that because these are
Slicked
some
it
really
up?
pretty. This is a really pretty curl pattern,
Like, if
listeners.
he
I want to say,
Like if he slicks it up.
no,
I
no. If
absolutely
he
have
like
used product before.
lets it, he like lets
Whereas
it.
you are changing your
define it.
hairstyle every week.
Yeah, well, it was my
I've used product.
thing I did this year.
What do you think?
I have a friend who
I'm
also.
someone who's never used product.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean that, like, because with a certain level of curl, you can really, but it takes a lot of finesse
I
to
mean,
make
I've
it like
literally
you should
had
up
a
the
glorious
curl.
halo.
You should
That's what
up the
I'm
curl.
saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
on
saying.
board with you.
I'm saying, like, you put curl encouraging products that make it more
Yeah.
voluminous.
You look like a Brazilian
Okay, well, I have
Instagram
literally
model.
had dreadlocks for 10 years.
That's
of my
not the
life.
same
This is
thing.
not something we want
No.
people to know.
No. I also had dreadlocks.
You had dirty hair.
Oh my god. I just want to go on record of saying that I did not have
white
locks.
dreadlocks.
I did have cornrows, but there's no photos
I
of
want
me.
to point
So
out that I got told that I don't look like somebody with lactose intolerance.
Because
very
people think it's
reasons.
because people think it's very simply
Being gay.
No.
They think if you're white that
No.
you can't. They think if you're white, like you look Nordic or like something like this,
It
that
was
you
very
can.
race sciencey, and it was by an Israeli, which
Yeah.
I think meant that I don't look Jewish, which is. And it was by my next door neighbor who was like, you don't look like you need some fake cheese on that pizza, and I'm like, I do, though, because I feel awful for like 48 hours if you do put cheese on it. And he's like, you don't look like it. You look like a Viking or a Celtic god. And I'm like, all right, let's unpack
You look
this.
like someone who's done the Holocaust rather than had the Holocaust done to
how
you.
I raped the entire Irish island.
Lactose intolerance in particular, all mammals naturally should lose their ability to process lactase after they are weaned. Some human populations just evolved. This is the theory. Just evolved a genetic propensity for processing it later because they were in cultures that used a lot more milk products for sustenance, right? There are so if you come from, a culture that historically did not make use of a lot of specifically cow milk products because lactase is not necessarily as much of an issue in sheep or goat's milk, it's like
Point is,
people make it like it's very clear. It went from being like white people assuming everyone could digest milk and you're a freak if you can't to now like acting like it's this secret racial coda.
Anyway, the point is, normal people can eat cheese, and
lactose intolerance typically does not necessarily include cheese or yogurt because those do not have high levels of lactase. Let's
feed Steve cheese and see if he gets diarrhea.
That makes me sick.
But it could be something else. But I'm saying like typically a hard cheese does not have a high level of lactase in it, so it wouldn't activate your lactose intolerance. But you could have it's got other shit in it and whatever.
That makes weak people suffer.
Marlo with his chauvinistic.
Marlo, who's never eaten meat.
Who's never.
Marlo,
look.
No,
we're talking about who's tough over here.
Yeah.
No, this is actually the
Marlo, the cum-town
scavenger of all things.
No, this has always been my life mission, is to showcase the inherent absurdity of masculinity by calling
other people weak,
while myself never having eaten a single hamburger.
That's
been my
that's his righteous
raison
journey.
d'etre,
which is Marxist dialectics.
Yes, I want to negate myself to build Marxism
because
I am the Jesus of Marxism. As
I learned from Jameson and Lyotard, Marxism is Jean-Francois Retard. In that Marx believes that capitalism is the greatest thing to ever happen upon this earth, but also the most destructive and horrible thing. And we have to keep those two things in check at the same time, which is that it is the greatest thing because it produces so many good things, but it is so destructive to the working class at the same time. We need to recognize and keep those two in our brains at all times when we're analyzing things through a Marxist perspective, which means cheese is both the greatest thing and the worst thing to ever happen to my digestive system.
Cheese also has casein in it, which is literally addictive.
Did you like that? Did you like that joke? Did you like the joke?
I did like that. I did like it. I did like it. But
Cheese is mostly casein.
I got Bunny to laugh, so that's
cheese is a lot of casein.
So
It's mostly
Cinderella.
I would suggest that everyone should watch it. It's the greatest movie. Speaking about proletarian oppression since Sorry to Bother You.
Oh
really.
my
That can't
gosh.
be true. Sorry to Bother You is a masterpiece.
I
Can we
also
talk about
want-
Sorry to Bother
No.
You?
No,
we
we're too long.
This is our
we also-
6-hour episode.
Yeah, we also. I'm sad I didn't get to shoehorn in more about multi-level marketing because I
And I'm
also
sorry
recently
I
watched
didn't
that doc.
Talk about the Vouch debate because, like, Marlo did research this one.
We can come back to this.
You might think of Marlo as the person who's like, Hurricane what? You might think of Marlo.
Yeah, like the autistic the Sherlock Holmes who doesn't know that the Earth is third in line with the sun.
Right, because
why
number one,
would Sherlock Holmes ever know that information? Because
when does that affect my life? And number two,
And I would be like, well, I know it because John Lithgow was on a show called Third Rock from the Sun.
All right,
and why
and-
All
would
right,
it be
all right,
called
all right,
that?
That is
we're
why I know
starting.
about
We're
the
starting
show.
the premium episode. Tell me more about
John Lithgow.
more about John Lithgow and Vouch debate.
I got nothing to tell because the episode's over.
No, we're restarting the next episode right now.
Oh my God, you should pay me more.
Okay, look, I'm pressing. Is at least
Pressing
gonna.
the off button.
Yeah, we're doing that.
The road is long and seeming without end. The days go on, but I'll remember you, my friend. And though you're gone, and my heart's been emptied, it seems, I'll see you in my dreams. I got your guitar here by my bed. All your favorite records and all the books that you read. And though my soul feels like it's been split at the seams, I'll see you in my dreams. I'll see you in my dreams when all our summers have come to an end. I'll see you